Welcome to the KBB Review podcast. I'm Andy Davies, and first of all, let me just say thank you to everyone who's taken the time to message me and say how much you liked last week's episode and our new regular retailers format. Justine, Liz, Trevor and Nick are all back this week, and we're continuing our look at how the market has changed since COVID and got us where we are today. We started with how the consumer has changed, and now we're looking at something that's bound to provoke a little more friction. How has the supplier changed? Pricing and terms, service and support, marketing and partnerships, all of this and so much more will be covering the lot. But first, entries are now open for the KBB Review Retail and Design Awards 2026. It's the biggest awards in the industry, and unbelievably, this is the 32nd year of them. They're the trophy everyone wants to win, and it could be you. It's totally free to enter, as always, and not only that, if you're shortlisted, you get free tickets to the event too. So what have you got to lose? Everything you need to know is at kbbreview.com/awards. That's kbbreview.com/awards, and the closing date is Thursday, November the 13th. Good luck. And here we are again. Now, last week, you may have hopefully heard the episode from last week. We talked about how consumers have changed in the last 5 years. We're going to delve into the thorny issue of suppliers now, and we'll see how we can all speak delicately and politely without naming people, but ultimately moaning, which is good. We like moaning. So here we go again. Let's say hello to Justine Bullock from the Tap End. Hello, Justine.
Hello, hi.
Hi, and let's say to Liz Pantling-Jones, Liz PJ from Lima Kitchens.
Hi, how are you?
I'm going to make that catch on. We've got Trevor Scott from RFK.
How are we doing?
And we've got Nick Warrington from Stuart J. Warrington. Hello, Nick.
Hi, Andy.
Right, let's get right into this, because this is actually one of the most significant changes I think that's happened in the last 5 years. Is how supply and suppliers have changed. So let's get into this a bit. Let's just talk about suppliers in terms of the pricing and their terms and how they've changed over the last few years. Who wants to take this first? How have their strategies and trading terms shifted, do you think? Trevor, you're our veteran. What do you think?
Well, it has changed for the better. We prior to COVID, we were going through this ridiculous period of selective distribution agreements and suppliers dictating terms to you, the retailer, as to what your mix of product had to be in order to get the best possible terms, etc., etc., etc. Now, all the way through COVID and immediately post-COVID, there were massive issues with stock and product availability, and all of that went out the window, and all they wanted to do was try and achieve a green light on their traffic light control system of what was available and what wasn't. Subsequently, there's been a rationalisation of breadth of product from most of our suppliers, so it's a more sensible, tightened up range of product, and there's more stock on the ground, so there are less shortages, and the pricing for us as a retailer has improved to the extent where now we really don't have any great difficulties with our major brand products with competing with internet pricing. So in that respect, there's been good improvements, and we're happy with the current situation with our key suppliers.
What do you think, Liz? Do you concur with that?
Yeah, I'd say so. Although I would add in, I think that there are definitely suppliers trying to add back in some of those stricter terms in governing how much product you have and balance. And that's not from a single brand. We have definitely had wind of it from a couple of different brands across the market.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we as retailers push back against that, because if they want display space in our showrooms and they want the volume that we give them, then they've got to give us the flexibility to deal with them on our terms, not on their terms.
It's always a balance, Justine, isn't it, between this constant conversation between retailers and suppliers about them telling you what you should do with their brand and you telling them that, no, this is our showroom because we're independent. And there's always a battleground in the middle there, isn't there?
Yeah, obviously they want to get as much of their product on display as possible. And for us, we are in a very small showroom. We call it a design studio that's open to the public rather than calling it a showroom, because we don't want to give clients a false representation that we've got loads and loads of things on display. So we just make sure that there is an even spread of brands throughout, but we can't conform to how many prop pieces they'd like on because we're so small. So I think that we are protected in a way from difficult conversations with suppliers because they can see with their eyes that we don't have much space. So we don't really fall into trouble with people trying to force things on us or force particular requirements, because we can't. We just wouldn't be able to adapt because we just don't have the space.
I mean, bathrooms is so competitive. The amount of brands that there are and the amount of narrow channels of products that they work in means it's so competitive. How do you see their sort of trading terms and prices going on? Is it consistent? Are you happy with it like these guys are? You feel it's kind of evens itself out a bit? Or is it all a bit weird and they keep putting prices up all the time?
I think it's really tricky because it is such that every year or twice a year you get price increases, the same expected situation. But then you think, like, is this ever going to end where, we telling our customers every year our prices are going up because every year supplier prices are going up? Like, I just don't believe that the prices are going up every year like this. And it's hard for us then to tell our customers our prices go up every year in line with the suppliers' price increases every year. Like, when does it end? It's just going to go up and up forever and ever and ever. And obviously the answer to that is yes. But customers don't understand that.
Prices never come down, do they?
No, and the only good thing that does for us is allows us to have a push in December because we're going to have prices increases in January. But it's just a weird one. We always want to give our clients the best product for the best price, but that doesn't mean we want to have the cheapest price and the highest terms, because service is important. So if we just wanted to have the cheapest price for the best terms, you can't then also expect the service. So I think as a retailer, we're really reasonable, but sometimes we don't really feel that that's reciprocated by suppliers.
And what about you, Nick? Because obviously you do kitchens and bathrooms. So you've got a lot of suppliers across a lot of different channels.
Sadly.
What do you think about this, about trading terms and prices? Is there a consistency there that you're happy with? What do you think?
What I have found over the last few years and what I've tried to do, going back to number of suppliers, is really rationalise suppliers. And I mean, it's true what Trevor said. You had these selective distribution agreements. They're still in existence. And the same with Justine, tiny showroom on the kitchen side. And that dictates with certain suppliers where I can and cannot get favourable terms. And I've had to take some hard decisions there and drop certain appliance brands, for instance, from display in order to ensure better terms on the ones that remain. Not always gone the way that the brands expected it to go in terms of who I dropped, but I've had to do that. Same with the door suppliers. Again, I've rationalised who I'm using. That's been reflected in better terms from them. Rebate agreements in place. So that's all worked very well. On the bathroom side, because we're predominantly supplying the trade, we go mainly through distribution. And it's interesting what we say about prices never going down. And that's true in terms of list prices. But I have seen over the last 3 months, obviously the market has been a bit harder and there's a bit more fighting going on and competitiveness. And that's been reflected in, quite a few of the suppliers coming back. And whilst the list price isn't changed, the terms that they're giving us off those list prices has improved in certain areas. So that's been good for us. And I think that's a reflection perhaps as much about the market as it is about their internal pricing. They're having to squeeze their own margins to keep the sales up, I think.
Right. Are you all seeing that? Are you all seeing them coming in with some decent offers because they're struggling to shift volume too? Liz?
I can only think of one supplier that's done that for us. So yeah, we've recently had some terms improved with one particular supplier, but not generally across the board. So I'll be asking the question.
The market is tough for everybody, including them, and they've got factories to keep busy. And to do that, they've got to make better deals, haven't they? Particularly if retailers are dropping them. What do you think, Trev?
Well, I mean, one of the things we're finding is that if you don't ask, you don't get. And we ask. So we're currently running a promotion running up to Christmas with £2,000 up to £2,000 off of a kitchen. And to make that possible so that it doesn't erode our margin, we've gone to our principal suppliers and said, this is what we're doing. Do you want to be part of it or not? Because if you're not going to be part of it, you're not going to get the sales because one of your competitors will. And we get extra discount for a limited period as a consequence. but you have to ask for it. It's not just given to you on a plate. With the appliance brands, and obviously I can only speak about those that we use, and I'm sure it varies across the spread. We found that the promotions that major appliance brands are offering, cashbacks, buy 5 appliances get 1 free, extended warranties and such like. These are working very well for us and have done for some time. Having time deadline based promotions that are major brand specific focuses clients' minds on a deadline date for placing an order, that us just saying to them, if you don't buy our kitchen by the 31st of September, then you're not getting a deal. It's just water for ducks back to them, because they know that we're the ones that are in control of that price. Whereas if it's brand X appliances, and they can see that marketing across the country if they just do a bit of research, and they know that we're not BSing them, and that if they want the deal across the whole package from us, then that deadline is fixed in tablets of stone. So it does win us orders. It doesn't mean, of course, that we get the order today. Quite often we don't get the order until the day before the end of the promotion. So we're hanging on, waiting for the deal to be signed quite often, which is unfortunate. But they have helped us considerably. So, that's good. And that's another way that manufacturers or appliance brands are giving back in other ways other than just directly increasing terms or increasing rebates, because it works for them. It's very product and brand specific.
I think when Trevor said, if you don't ask, you don't get, we sometimes are on such a treadmill that we don't ask. So something that we've done this year, we've gone through all of our suppliers, we've analysed our terms, because sometimes you can just be in with someone and it's just habit, And also, I might know the terms, but one of the designers might not. So we just really got our heads around who we deal with, what our terms are, why we like dealing with them. And we analysed every single person that we deal with the team. And that was really good for us, because then we realised, why are we putting business through that company when we haven't seen a rep for months and months and months? Or why are we putting business through that company when they sell the similar product to this company and we get better terms with them, but we also get better service? So we literally analysed every single brand that we deal with, and we did stop dealing with some of them. And interestingly, ones that we were putting quite a decent amount of money through, when we stopped, they never contacted us. And I thought, I'm so glad that we've done that this year. I couldn't believe it, to be honest, because it makes me angry, actually, because I think, all the times we've put business through you over someone else, and then when we stop, you don't even contact us to say, is everything okay? Like, it's like they didn't notice. And then I think if they didn't notice we stopped, they didn't notice that we were buying, and then it makes you feel a bit salty.
Well, look, Liz, that touches on a really important point here, I think, which is about service. And again, independent retailers are businesses built on incredibly high levels of service. And when they don't get the same in return from their suppliers, I think it really does great, as Justine's just proved there. So what do you think has happened over the last 5 years on service levels, and just the amount of communication you have, the problem solving? Has that changed, and is it for the worse or for the better?
So I think overall it's dropped massively. We have an issue with a supplier that we've been using for 19 years. We've never had an issue. We've never asked them to replace a product. Our rep isn't really coming back to us. They're refusing to escalate it at the customer service, and we have a product that isn't performing in the way that it should. We don't see why we shouldn't be getting that support. So that's really problematic. We've got other suppliers, we may or may not see the rep. But interestingly, one supplier came in and asked for our feedback, and we were brutally honest and said, if you didn't have the rep that you have, we wouldn't be buying from you as a company. It's our relationship with that individual, and we know they're coming up to retirement. So when they retire, we will be looking elsewhere. And as a result, it has actually given them the drive to look into what our problems are in the back office and the factories, and try to fix some of those issues to make a difference. So that's quite nice on that side, but there are definitely suppliers who have fallen, and there's no sign of them improving.
Nick, anyone who follows you on LinkedIn will know that you've got issues with some of your suppliers at the moment. How much of this is about personal service? Because an awful lot of customer service, and you'll see this in your bank, in your phone company, and whatever it is, are trying to automate as much as their customer service as possible, so they don't have to have loads of people manning phones or whatever. And, it's expensive to put reps on the road. It's expensive to give them a car. And so people are trying lots of different things. But when you're dealing with companies that are built on personal service, it's just such a contradiction, isn't it?
It is. And I think for me, I'm not hugely bothered about the reps, the ASMs coming in on a really frequent basis and seeing me if they haven't got anything fresh to tell me. But what I do want is that when we have a genuine issue, that I can pick up the phone and they give me support and help me, and they are that interface with their company, and I know that I can rely on them to get things done. And yes, I've had a fairly public rant recently, and the main the main area of frustration has been not that there's a problem, because we all get problems within our businesses that we have to put right. The issue is that there is no visibility in the problems being put right. No one comes back to you, and that sort of thing. In terms of just steam rising in your head, ready to erupt, it is massive, because I'm facing that way, looking at the supplier and getting no answers, knowing full well that in this hand I'm keeping a rabid client at bay, because I can't give them any answers, because I haven't got any answers. The support for me is just about, when I need you, help me. And if you do that, I will reciprocate by giving you business. And generally, the suppliers that I end up putting most of my business with are the ones who provide that support. And the ones that fall by the wayside are the ones that I don't get that support from. And so, yes, price is important, but for me, it's the after sales, the bit which is really important, because if they give me a really good price, but the product doesn't turn up on time, then it costs me more in terms of the business overhead of fitters not being able to do things, angry customers not coming back, than I've saved by getting an extra 2 or 3% off them compared to the other guy. I kind of feel that's been lost a bit somewhere along the way with certain suppliers, where they just think that small independents, they'll just suck it up. And I'm a realist. I'm not a big fish in the pond, am I? I laugh and say to certain ASMs, I know when you're quiet because you pay me a visit, because you're working further down your list. But I expect when I've got an issue, you help me sort it out. And if you don't help me sort it out, then you're not going to be getting a lot of business back off me. It's just the way it is.
A lot of suppliers, Trevor, and I get this a lot when I go and talk to them, interview them, they talk about partnerships, and it's a partnership between retailers and suppliers. Everyone's in Do you feel you're in a partnership with any of your suppliers?
No, not at all. It's a quite straightforward, simple process of supply and demand. I want your product, and I want it when I've ordered it, and I want it to arrive on time in good condition so as I can supply it to my customer. If you fail to perform, I'm not buying it from you anymore. And the day I have to get in my car and go to them to pick a product up because their ASM can't be bothered to do it for me and demonstrate a good level of service, is the day that their partnership, if they want to call it that, with me is going to end. So I'm really quite blunt about this. I'm known as the business's Rottweiler. If one of our suppliers gets threatened with a phone call from Trevor, then they know that they've done something wrong and to look forward to a proper lambasting. And fortunately, in the last couple of years, I haven't been called upon to make that phone call to my partner's managing director or national sales manager. But I have had plenty of that type of conversation in the past, and in many cases with suppliers that we no longer use.
You nodded in agreement there, Liz. Are you in a partnership?
I think with some of our suppliers, we are. We definitely have had assistance in some difficult times, which we might not have had if we didn't have the partnerships or relationships that we do. But I'm the Rottweiler here, so if there are certain suppliers that know if I'm the one that's calling, then it's gone too far, because I shouldn't be, with the way we're set up, I shouldn't be involved in that. I shouldn't be hearing about it. And if I've heard about it several times, I'm making that phone call, it means they're not supplying the service that we expect.
I imagine you're Bullock by name and Bullock by nature, Justine. I imagine you take that role too.
I think that people assume I do, but actually I'm really, really laid back. I'm very fair and reasonable. So if I think, okay, I can see why they're making that call, or we're pushing someone a bit too far, maybe like something's been delivered a bit too long, or, you know, it's a bit of a grey area, I'm actually very fair. But if someone has really let us down, then I will let them know about it. But I'm very quick to forget and move on. You know, for me, it's about how people rectify situations or respond. And I certainly will just, you know, move on immediately after, and be fine. But there have been scenarios recently where I do feel really let down by suppliers. And when I have brought things up with them, there's been no apology. And I think this is a bit of a trend. Like, people are just not apologizing for things anymore. And sometimes you just want someone to say, oh yeah, we let you down there, I'm really sorry, and I'll personally monitor your account, make sure it doesn't happen again. That something as simple as that is so missing and so lacking from suppliers at the minute. And I think that people forget that we're the customer. You know, I don't want to fight on my hands, or I don't want a debate. Sometimes I just want an apology. Like, why can't people apologize anymore?
It's how you would behave to your customers. That's what it is. You wouldn't dream of not apologising to one of your clients if something had gone horribly wrong. But I think we've got to be pragmatic about this. The market is really, really tough at the moment. It's been really, really tough for a long time. And suppliers are operating as leanly and efficiently as they can be. And they don't have an awful lot of fat in the system to send lots of people, to employ lots of people to do customer service. And I think striking the balance between efficiency and service is a really, really hard thing to do, particularly if, like lots of suppliers, you have your retail channel, but then you have your contracts channel, and you have independent retail is just one channel amongst many. But it is the most customer service heavy bit. So it is hard in fairness to them. But my experience of talking to retailers is that there has been a significant drop in the last 5 years in the level of service to them. And I think that is a real shame, I think. So let's just talk a little bit about another angle of that, which is how much support you get in marketing, in promotion, in helping drive customers to your showroom, or to do marketing events and things like that. Do you think that has got better or worse? Who wants to take that one, Nick?
I've got certain supply. I mean, Trevor's touched on it. We've got some of the appliance brands that we use who have got their consumer promotions. Just like Trevor, we're finding that they're beneficial to us in terms of creating a good hard deadline from a marketing sales perspective. And we're getting, obviously, materials that we can use in the showroom and online on the social media side. I've got other brands who've done similar things with me over the last 12 months where they've given me enhanced terms for a fixed period of time so that we can promote their products a bit more strongly than we usually would, which has been again helpful. And then you get the other ones where it's here's a link to a Dropbox and there's 10,000 images in it, and it's sort of help yourself, which it would be great if I had a marketing team. But sadly, I don't. And so from that perspective, it's not fantastic. They're all trying to do the bit. And I think the trouble is that some of these suppliers are themselves still finding their way in the modern world, shall we say, in terms of social media and how they can improve what they offer to support you in marketing. Because at the moment, taking those images and using them yourself as an independent is not quite the simple task that they seem to think it is.
So Trevor, what do you think? Do you think you get enough marketing support from your brands?
Well, we're getting more, but it has been quite variable, and it's been drifting back to a pre-COVID level over the last 18 months or so, I guess. I mean, as a business, we've always been very event driven, and we like to do quite a lot of cookery demonstrations or bread baking courses and things like that. And the support that we're getting from the major brands for those events has crept back in fairly slowly. So we've gone from only being able to perhaps run one, maybe two events a year per brand to 5 or 6, which is much more like the pre-COVID time. These are important events for us because, I mean, certainly in our principal showroom, we've had upwards of 70 or 80 people come in for a cookery demonstration evening. And as you can imagine, the feedback that you get from an event like that is huge, and the sales benefit is massive. So we want to run that kind of event as often as we possibly can do, but we can't afford to do it on our own. We have to have the support from the manufacturer, and that is coming back, but it had been missing. I mean, it's almost like it, naturally because of COVID, it just died a natural death because they couldn't send anybody out, and it's like it's taken quite a long while for the wheels to get back into motion again properly with that kind of event. As far as digital assets are concerned, and actual online promotions, then as I mentioned earlier, these are working well for us, and our principal suppliers have been doing a good job in that respect. But the actual digital assets themselves seem to be a bit more limited. We're finding that our marketing company, and I hear what you're saying, Nick, feel your pain, but we've been using an external marketing company for some years now, and that they're having to do a lot more work to manipulate images to fit in with our marketing campaigns, rather than just picking up pre-existing assets from our suppliers and being able to park them straight into the middle of one of our adverts. And that's not particularly helpful to us because it means we're having to do a lot of the work ourselves.
So what do you think, Liz? What support do you get?
There is some support out there. I think asking is a big thing with the support in the marketing, because a lot of people will be able to do something. And I don't think that all of the suppliers are as forthcoming as they perhaps could be about some of the things that they can do. So asking definitely important. But generally across the board, apart from some of the bigger boys, I think, as Nick said, getting them into current topics and methods of advertising is hard, and even down to the cooking events. So I've given our suppliers a really hard time of recent. The quality and variation and the interaction of the cooking demonstrations that are supplied just haven't changed in the 20 years we've been in the industry. It's like, can we do something more relevant? If you bringing out an air fryer function, let's use some of those recipes that are being used on social media and transfer that into what people are actually going to use, rather than a baked piece of fish or a meringue, which I've never made in my life. So it's like what are people going to use on a daily basis? What's actually going to be beneficial to them and transfer over easily? So I think there's definitely growth that can be done across the board by all the suppliers.
Now, you obviously don't do cookery demonstrations, Justine. That would be a bit weird.
I'd love it if someone come and did a cooking demonstration.
But do you feel that your brands in bathroom side of things, do you feel that they drive customers to your showroom? And do you think they help you or play their part in that?
No, not one bit. I can't think. No, not at all. We have got some strong relationships with certain brands, and we do collaborate on things like photo shoots for magazines and things like that. And really grateful for those collaborations. But I thought it was really interesting earlier, when you said to Trevor, like, do you feel like you're a partner with certain brands? And he was like, absolutely not. It's like, I'm seeing a lot from people like saying, you got to stop calling your workplace like a family. You're not a family and you're not in partnership. You're both mutually getting something from each other. And I think that I would say that we're in strong collaboration on occasion with certain brands, but I certainly don't feel like they drive business to us. If anything, sometimes they can hinder business to us because they might have a more friendly relationship with someone down the road, or they might go golfing or like for beers with someone else. And I just think the whole industry now, or certainly my perspective on the industry, has changed massively in the past 12 months, where you see things differently, I think, the longer you're in it or the more experiences you have. And I think I probably am changing from being so optimistic to like a little bit pessimistic, for sure.
Well, look, I think if we can draw any conclusions from this, is that we really need more cooking demonstrations in bathroom showrooms, because
maybe I would be more
eating meringues in the bath. I can see this working for you. Well, look, thank you. Look, this is brilliant. I mean, literally, this is something you could talk about for hours, isn't it? And if I was looking away, it's because I'm writing things down that we'll do future episodes on as we go. But look, thank you so much for this. We've got a real little insight into how the market is at the moment, how you're approaching your businesses, and it's all different, which is all what independent retail is all about. So, look, thank you so much for that. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.